Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. This talk about money, the world's shortest course about money, is aimed primarily at high school and college students or recent graduates, but it also may be of value to other people. After all, schools seem to teach everything else but about money, and yet it's perhaps overrated, but it's certainly important. In terms of making money, it's unfortunate but true that unless you are really a brilliant tech genius or likely to be a brilliant lawyer or a surgeon or whatever, for the typical person, the path to a middle class living is likely to be one of two things: either becoming really an expert at sales, or the more advanced version they call business development, that is convincing other businesses to join, merger, acquire, etc., or self-employment. And I believe in simple self-employment because the more complex it is, the more they can go wrong, and you don't have the deep pockets to survive that. So I'm a huge fan of very simple, small businesses with few moving parts, like, I won't go into detail, but running a small chain of flower carts or gift carts near a busy bus or train station is the kind of low status but higher probability of success kind of business, and you will feel good about it as long as you're providing an honest product at a fair price, treating your workers and customers well. That's all I want to say about the making of money. Now I want to talk about let's talk about spending, because so often when we're younger, we're not so involved in worrying about saving for retirement or whatever. But perhaps the biggest expenses, the two expenses I want to talk about, that people spend too much on are housing. We pay too much for a nice neighborhood. If you really think rationally and statistically, as long as you exert reasonable precautions in terms of locking your door, not walking around in skimpy clothes in the middle of the night, but if you exert reasonable caution, the actual increase in safety from being in a nice neighborhood versus not nice neighborhood is very small, but the cost difference is enormous. So I would encourage you to look at neighborhoods that represent a good value in that way. Secondly, the second most big purchase you make is cars. It is, it's cool, the nice new cars smell, the feeling to get the latest and greatest, but over your lifetime you will save hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, by following simply the following rule. Buying Toyotas that are 10 or 15 years old, that have 150, even 200,000 miles on it, you can get those $2,000. Make sure you check it out at a mechanic before buying it. But if you do that and keep it till it drops, those cars tend to have another 100,000, 150,000 good miles left on them. That decision alone is going to save you a fortune, and thereby, by choosing your housing appropriately, like I just described, and choosing your cars, those two simple decisions are going to allow you infinitely more freedom in terms of choosing a career that you might enjoy more, rather than choosing a career so it makes big bucks. Now, as far as investing goes, the shortest advice is invest in Vanguard. All of the other Vanguard's a company that has a variety of mutual funds and ETFs. They're very similar. I'm not going to go into details. That have the lowest fees, and they're really a very ethical business, and they specialize in what are called index funds, which tend to perform better than most stock pickers. So even at a young age, and a lot of the mutual funds within Vanguard allow you to start with just $50. I would encourage you to call Vanguard, have a conversation, even if you're just putting in $50 a month. It's 95% of the real financial experts would say that that's simple advice. And picking a Vanguard fund, they have lots of options that are the appropriate risk tolerance for you. And if you're young, you should probably take more risk. And you'll get diversification because these mutual funds invest in a lot of companies. But I don't want to get too much in the weeds. Making a simple call to Vanguard, Google it and just call their number. It's 1-800-662-something. And putting in, not trying to time the market, just trying to do that. Or even if you're conservative, and there's a lot of people are nervous about America's future, you can get bank CDs, certificates of deposit, that yield about 3%, guaranteed for 5 years. That's not a bad thing to do. That every time you end up with an extra, few $100, buying one of those CDs, that's a very low risk, conservative way to keep earning money. And what happens is your interest keeps earning money on the interest and the power that's called compounding. It's remarkable how much. There's no guarantees except for those CDs, but getting in the habit of doing that is really very smart. One more thing I guess I'll say: even if you're young, starting to contribute to a retirement plan, a Roth IRA, an IRA, a 401k, those are tax deferred so that you're not paying tax on it for a long time. Now, of course, if you're a really young person, it may be premature, but I thought I would mention it. And that is the world's shortest course in money management. But I can really look you in the eye and say that if you follow just this few minutes of advice, you're going to be way ahead of the vast majority of people, which is not just to put more money in your savings account, but you will have greater freedom of career, greater peace of mind, and getting good value. So when you are spending, you're getting value for the money received. I hope that's helpful. I'm Marty Nemko, and thank you for watching.